Greetings, my name is Nick Merchant. I'm a Krav Maga instructor in New York. I also help spearhead the Kabali Sarada Eskrima New York group, as well as teach Alpha Dose Parry's Eskrima here. And this is my review of Immersion Labs 3, Born of Blood. Before I talk about the individual instructors that were and presenters that were at this event, the first thing I want to address is the event itself. And by that, I mean the overall way it was run, presented, the atmosphere, and along those lines. Mahapal and the rest of the Immersion Lab crew, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing together so many like-minded martial artists, whether they were presenters or practitioners and attendees. You gave us an environment that was free of ego, free of competition. Nobody was throwing their weight around. Everybody was there in the same communal spirit. Your staff was A+ in helping us feel comfortable, in getting us what we needed, and just participating in the event. If I was by myself, one of them come like, hey, let's work together. And I think in that, what you captured in Born of Blood was not unlike what I saw at Stigmata last year, but even more so because there were people who had returned, and that you created this environment where we could share and not compete, where we could share and build without the fear of what we get online so much with the martial art warriors typing behind the keyboards. Everybody's a black belt. My technique's the best. And what you got was a great community across the board of people just wanting to improve their craft and appreciate those of others. In that, my fellow attendees, all of you guys that I got to work with, and even though I didn't get to work with, I was well aware of what was going on around me. You guys were fantastic, top notch, just grade A of what the martial arts can be and should be, and in what's unfortunately in some small pockets is of just ego free, eager to learn, wanting to share, wanting to get better. And nobody was paper checking anybody. Oh, what's your rank? And where's your certificate? And where's this and that? And it was none of that. None of that. You had people who are high level masters of their own art to just even burgeoning practitioners, of people who are just like, hey, I want to get more involved in martial arts. I want to expand the scope of what I'm learning. And what I thought was fantastic was you got beyond all the politics. You got beyond all the egos. And you created, again, that environment that is so crucial for martial artists such as myself who want to expand their craft. So with that, I want to thank you, Mahapal, and the rest of your group, everybody that was there, Sharias, Dex. You guys were particularly fantastic watching you guys work together. But it was just excellent, just to have that. That was number one. So day one, after the registration and getting settled in with everything, we were treated with Manang Romeo Macapagal of the Tatang Illustrissimo system, and he was wonderfully represented with his top-notch student, Master J.J. Hervis. It was a great treat to see Manang Romeo in person. He was unavailable last year, but again, he made good on his promise to come back, and man, what a treat. The gentleman gave us a history of Illustrissimo and his system, and is a living encyclopedia of Kali knowledge. He was just so well thought out in his presentation, technique was sound, and gave us so much to work with and build upon that, again, I don't think I would ever get that anywhere else. The notions of what he was doing in his participation and demonstration of the techniques was absolutely top notch. Afterwards, we had Master Mark Makita. Now, I had the pleasure of working with Master Makita last year, and this year he did not disappoint. He was doing the disarms and the counter disarms, and wow, I would never want to have to face that man with this stick, because if he wants it, he's going to take it. Perhaps the most impressive thing about Mark Makita is, as a school teacher, I'm a school teacher in the Bronx for 21 years, I don't just look at martial artists just for their skill, but when they present, I look at how they disseminate the information, and I've told Master Makita this on 2 occasions, that his teaching is top-notch. The way that he can get a room full of multi-styles to speak the same language in a matter of minutes was just bewildering on how he could do that. And to get us to build upon those skills is truly masterful in how he presents his ideas. As a martial artist, not only did I take those ideas, but seriously, as a school teacher, I look at how he built upon that information, and I think to myself, wow, how can I apply that within my classroom aside from my martial arts teaching? So if you ever want to like learn how to teach martial arts, man, Master Mark Makita is definitely one of the go-to guys to look at for that. The final presenters of day one was Timothy Pahi and his partner Bees, who presented the Maori style of fighting. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, the Wrong Mararu. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but that was an absolute treat because this is a style of fighting that we have not really seen on a public scale. What was truly great about that presentation was you could tell that these gentlemen, Timothy and Bees, lived it and loved it. It truly is a religion, culture, and way of life for them. And their love was infectious in their presentation. It was unreal to see how these two gentlemen, virtually unknown in the States, come over here and just enrapture an entire room of skilled martial artists and do so in such a way that was entertaining and educational and involved. And man, seriously, day one, mind blown. Day two, we had the pleasure of working with Guru Stephen Plank of Pukalan Penchak Salat Sera, and that was ferociously awesome. The man is a consummate master of his skill, and it showed through in just his precise movements and application and explanation of ideas. What I really got out of his presentation was the whole notion of base, angle, and leverage, and utilizing that strategically to overcome an opponent or an adverse situation. And what I really liked about that was it didn't just apply to his martial art. It was something that as soon as he mentioned it, I was processing it and thinking about in all the styles that I study in my applications. And it really was something that resonated with me, and I had the pleasure to speak with him about that. So that was really cool. Lunchtime, we were given another treat with Master Maya Sada, and if you don't know who she is, that's your fault. It was great because I've read both of her books. I know she's worked with my master Jeff Finder, and to work with her in person, and she brought in the notion of working with a sickle, using evasion and baiting and feinting. It was just really cool to work with a completely strange weapon, for lack of a better term, that you wouldn't normally think to use in a fighting situation. And to see her videos and to read her books and to know how her ideas are about being there but not being there to strike, and then to watch her in person and actually have that guidance from her, wow, man, that was amazing. After that, we had Ajan Jason Webster, who was teaching us Krabi Krabang. Love that presentation. Working with Krabi Krabang with some of the dog brothers I train with, and see it presented in a different light was really enlightening, in the sense that he broke down the movements of the body and made it applicable and understandable to all attendees. By the time he got us started very simply and then built this up quickly, you saw the power of the movements and how to generate that power. And again, very knowledgeable, skilled gentleman who definitely had so much to offer for us that day. And then lastly, we finished up with Siku Suleiman Sharif. I had the pleasure of meeting him on day one, and just a very pleasant, funny, good-natured gentleman. And he was teaching us the Malaysian Salat with Karambit. He really was another one. And this was indicative of all the presenters, in which they built up slowly and smoothly to that. He was working us with empty hand techniques and getting us a basic idea of what his style and fundamentals were about. And then when you put the karambit in the hand, it got real nasty. But again, just another professional of his craft, knowledgeable, in his execution and application of ideas, and truly just a wonder to watch him at work and share his knowledge and see how effortlessly he put it in, demonstrating his years of dedication and practice and love. So day 2 was just another one that was just like, whoo, gotta fill up the notebook. So day 3 started off with Master Kenya Prach. Now he is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the last practitioners and masters of his style of Cambodian fighting. And the gentleman suffered a serious medical condition and still found it in himself to fly out to California and meet with us. And although we didn't do much of a demonstration, what he did was enlighten us about his history of learning the art and utilizing the art and where he had come from. And let me tell you something, although it wasn't a physical demonstration, his act of love and dedication to come out and meet with us, a man of his word and his honor, was, oh my God, so admirable. And to hear him speak about what he went through and what he had to survive and his use of the art and how that art basically conditioned him. I mean, you'll never get that anywhere else. You'll never get that anywhere else. And so I want to thank you because aside from the medical condition, you made your way out here, and my God, you have my utmost respect. The next section followed up was a little extra special for me because it was about Cabale Serrata. We were treated with Master J.C. Caballero. Now, Master J.C. Caballero is one of those masters of Cabale Serrata, Eskrima, who we all know about within our system, but he's kind of kept to himself over the past few years. And Mahapal, you to get him out there was amazing because Master JC, he wrote, in my opinion, the definitive book in Cabale Serrata. Doesn't leave anything out. He explains everything. There's no self-aggrandizing. There's no politics. The man says, Serrata, that's it. And that's what his presentation was just a pure dedication and love of what Cabale Serrata Eskrima is to him and how it was given to him from the love of Grandmaster Angel. And it was amazing to watch him at work because having read the book, he is exactly like you'd see in the book in just his presentation and just so knowledgeable and loving of his art and was just so giving and sharing that with everyone that, I mean, that was, I'm pretty much speechless about that. And then he was followed up by Master Ron Saturno. Now, I met Master Ron Saturno last year at Stekmata with the other awesome Serrata presentation of Grandmaster Vincent and himself. And I love that Grandmaster Ron is like opposite heads of the same coin for Master Caballero. And not that they do anything necessarily different, but what they teach is still the love of pure Serrata. And Master Ron is somebody who I know personally that constantly self-reflects and assesses what he's doing with his art and looking to find it at what it is at its core and its most direct principles in keeping with its true philosophy. And he did not disappoint again in his applications of Cabale Serrata Eskrima. And it was also a pleasure to watch him at work with his student Mahipal. It's always fun to watch a master and student demonstrate and work because you see the chemistry there between them. And Mahipal, thank you again for putting yourself out there for that. But again, just always a pleasure to watch Master Ron at work and to meet and speak with him as well. Next up was Ata Mushtaq Ali Al Ansari, who was doing cane fighting. That was a particular interest because, you know what, I'm going to be an old man one day and probably going to have a cane. So in him, watching him apply those principles of the Southeast Asian martial arts and applying it to something as an everyday as a cane was truly wonderful to see just the simple applications of using it to defend, sending it as a strike, keeping distance, and utilizing it to trap and control attackers, utilizing your environment. He even got to having your back up against the wall and how to utilize that to your advantage and not let it be a disadvantage to you. Truly another master of his craft and a wealth of information. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff, sir. Thank you for that. And we were closed up with our final presentation of Grandmaster Ron Liu, who presented Filipino whip, and he finished it up with his work in Escrito. Now, admittedly, I had to leave early because I had to catch a flight, but I did get to see the first part of his presentation with the whip. And Grandmaster Ron is a pleasure to watch because he's a man who's very warm in his personality and very engaging, because he's not afraid to be himself and have a good sense of humor. Sometimes in the martial arts, we take things so seriously, and it's not wrong to be serious about our art, but I think sometimes we forget to smile and have fun. And Grandmaster Ron, you are not, sir. And to watch you and Master Ramel at work together, and just, you guys could probably be an act in Vegas, man. But again, you guys were wonderful, and thank you again, all presenters from day 3. So my final thoughts about the entire ILF Born of Blood presentation is that, aside from all the wonderful information and the high level of martial artists that were in presence and who were demonstrating and sharing and instructing us, was the overall atmosphere. Now, I've already spoke about the atmosphere amongst the participants, but what I really want to talk about is, and this is what struck me, and it was there last year, but this is what really struck me this year, was the accessibility to the presenters. The presenters were so cool and so genuine and so open and so willing to speak to you about their art and what you had learned from them and what you thought about their applications. I spent time talking with Master Mark Makita about his teaching and how I, as a New York school teacher, loved his presentation and building of ideas. Grandmaster Ron Liu, when I informed him that I would be missing his presentation that I wanted to see, the gentleman took time from his lunch to teach me one-on-one on how to work with the Filipino whip. He additionally took many opportunities throughout the entire weekend to talk to me about martial arts and his time with Grandmaster Kakoy and the whole concept of what Escrito does, and what it's about. And he didn't have to do that. He was willing to do that. And I mean, that was like amazing. Like, to just sit there and be like, okay, yeah, Grandmaster Ron, I got some questions, It was fantastic to sit with Master J.C. Caballero, who I have never met, and to spend time with the man discussing Cabale Serrata and what I had learned and what he had learned, and just sharing our time and our experiences, and just me taking the time to shut up and listen to him and his history, as I did with Grandmaster Ron, and spending the time with talk with both of them about where Cabale Serrata has been, where it is now, and where it can go. Maya Soderholm, she so impressed me that on day 1, she was on the front lines with all the participants. Then I'm sitting there and I'm working with her, and I'm like, wow, here's Maya Soderholm. Got her videos, read her books. She's my training partner. Oh my God, don't look like but she was so chill and so down to earth that I thought that was fantastic. Where else do you see that? The masters weren't cordoned off in some VIP section with a guest list. They were there on the floor with us, and they were essentially saying, hey, I've been where you're at, and I want to help you be better. And I think that there's an important takeaway from this entire weekend, is that rising tides raise all boats. There's no ego, there's no competition, right? I think that's sorely lacking in the martial arts community, in that we hide behind keyboards and we write these like sniping comments, and you're not the true master, and where's your certificate, and paper checking, and nobody was doing that. Everybody was there saying, how can I help you understand what I learned, and how can I help you move along, because you guys are the next generation, or you guys are my contemporaries or my peers, or and that's going to help us all look better. I mean, God, Timothy Pahi and Bees, just so loving about their time, technique. I asked them just one question. It would turn into like a 30-minute just little workout session on the side. They didn't have to do that, but because of their love for what they did and for what they do, they took that time for me. And that was indicative of all the martial artists. Being able to talk to Mang Romy and JJ, and just discussing, the Illustrissimo system, and just getting knowledge of that. I mean, that was fantastic, and you're not going to really get that anywhere else.